Sakata Yuichi is currently a second-year student in high school. When he arrives home, he is greeted by a girl who welcomes him back, revealing that they are married classmates as she offers him dinner. Before this scene unfolds, we see Sakata at school, where he is greeted by his friend Karai. Earlier, Sakata's father had given him the peace sign, announcing that he would be absent for an entire year due to a wedding. He instructs Sakata to uphold the responsibilities of their household. Sakata reflects on how ever since his father's divorce, life has felt akin to sinking in quicksand. His father also mentions that he will be going to the agency the next day. Next, we meet Nihara Momono, who exudes an alluring charm as she gives a playful, kawaii anime wink. However, our protagonist is transformed into a full-blown hentai warlord, wanting to distance himself from real girls as if they were the cheeks on his backside. As he lets out a sigh, he notices a girl sitting alone, absorbed in a book. He and Mesa exchange glances at her, and Sakata finds himself curious about her identity. He asks Masa if she has introduced herself yet, but Masa is also unsure. Sakata reflects that it must be nice to live a peaceful life like hers. This thought triggers a quick flashback filled with tragic anime tropes, taking us back to when his life felt like sunshine, rainbows, and tax-free bliss. Everything changed one fateful day when, while cracking jokes and enjoying each other's company, he decided to ask a girl out privately. Unfortunately, she turned him down. It wasn't even a harsh rejection. She didn't spit in his face or anything dramatic like that. Sakata merely felt a bit down but continued his daily life as usual. However, when he opened the door to his classroom, he discovered that everyone was aware of his confession, and they relentlessly teased him about it. It wasn't anything scandalous, but Sakata reacted as if he were Bruce Wayne witnessing his parents' murder by a pack of chihuahuas. After that, he vowed to put an end to his sunny disposition, embracing instead a persona filled with darkness, eyeliner, and emo music. As he walks home, he clutches onto his anime girl merchandise from a game called Love Idol Dream, Iris Stage. Then, he shifts into promo mode and begins a sponsored segment, explaining after discovering the game. He isolated himself and has been going on like this ever since. Yuna is the girl character he pulled from the gacha, and he lost countless resources to obtain her. Everything about her, the way she expresses herself, her voice, her vibe, even her armpit and left toe, makes him want to marry her. Following that incident, he became terrified of real girls and instead fell for 2D ones. Knowing they could never betray him, he finds himself fantasizing about Yuna in her wedding dress. Then, he spots a girl standing under a tree, reaching for something. Realizing it's the same quiet girl from his class, he sees that she's trying to retrieve a piece of paper stuck in the tree. He walks up behind her, retrieves it, and hands it to her. She smiles in gratitude, explaining that it's something very special to her. Sakata blushes, recalling a scene from the game he plays. The two share a moment, gazing at each other before he awkwardly excuses himself and runs away, reminding himself that he can't betray Yachan. However, they both end up in front of Sakata's house, where his sister, Nao, steps out and chastises him for being late. She tells him to be quiet because she doesn't want to hear any excuses and confiscates his gooning materials, leading to an argument. He insists that Yaikan is the hope for humanity's survival. Now Yu retorts that if by humanity he means his virginity, then he's in trouble. At this rate, he'll become a shut-in, despised by society, and a bigger burden than their dad. See, the girl intervenes, asking if he's talking about Izumi Yuna, who played the role of Yuna in Iris Stage. Sakata affirms this and expresses his love for her. Suddenly, she thanks him, leaving him puzzled by her response. She then reveals that she is, in fact, Izumi Yuna. Stunned, he asks if they share the same name or surname, but she clarifies that her actual name is Watan Yuka. Nu recognizes the name and walks back inside, congratulating Sakata on his engagement. She explains that their father arranged for him to meet his future marriage partner, and that person is standing right in front of him. Thanking him for his love and support, Nu informs him that she is the daughter of the client their dad mentioned. Sakata's wish has come true. He is now engaged to Izumi Yuna from Iris Stage. The two sit at the dining table, where she asks him about his favorite character. About an hour ago, the three of them had gathered at the table, and upon taking a closer look at Yuka's face, Sakata realizes she has a rather refined expression. Noticing his gaze, Yuka begins to blush. They start apologizing to each other, and Nu encourages him not to be so stiff. Sakata then asks if she understands the current situation, and she explains that his father is closely connected to her client and that both of their children are promised to marry. Nu suggests that Yuka could live in their house since her brother is living alone. However, Sakata objects, stating that they are only in high school and not ready for marriage. Nu counters that it would be a different kind of arrangement, similar to marriage. Sakata feels she might have just made that term up and insists that the other party involved, meaning Yuka, can't simply agree to this. He also reiterates his vow not to pursue relationships with real girls, prompting Nu to exclaim, "Grow up and put some hair on that thing?" She expresses her frustration over his incessant rejections, declaring she's tired of hearing it. In response, he pulls out his game and begins to drool over 2D girls again, which causes Nu to slam the table in annoyance. She stands up, tells him to enjoy his life with his wife, and angrily wishes him luck before leaving. The two sit in silence at the dining table, the tension making the atmosphere awkward. Finally, Sakata decides to break the silence, trying to muster some courage. He asks her if she knows that he's a hardcore nerd, at least he made the effort. He explains that he has nothing exciting to discuss with girls, not even topics like anime, manga, or video games. He reveals he's saying this to encourage her to leave him, hoping it would end the awkwardness. However, she decides to entertain the conversation and asks who his favorite character is. Caught off guard, Sakata hesitates but ultimately tells her about his favorite character, explaining he likes her because of the headphones she wears. Yuka is surprised by his unique taste and asks if she has her own niche interests. Blushing, Yuka admits that it's hard to explain. She reveals that she likes it when someone wears a shirt with the top button undone. Sakata realizes they could do that with a necktie. At this point, Sakata feels a bit confused, and he suspects he's not the only one. Yuka explains that she prefers those styles because the more dynamic individuals tend to leave their buttons undone, but she's also into the fully buttoned look. They both start laughing about their quirky preferences. Sakata decides to grab some drinks and snacks as they talk endlessly, proudly showcasing their knowledge. Yuka realizes this is the first time she's engaged in such a lengthy conversation, and it dawns on her that she wants to see his room. However, Sakata declines her request, but she reassures him that it's fine because she's an anime nerd too. She jokes that if she encounters a naked figure or anything strange, she'll pretend to lose all her senses and erase those memories. He explains that he and Yuna share a secret in that room, but she counters that she is the voice of Yuna and knows her best since she plays the character. Sakata dismisses her statement, retorting that he knows Yuna better than she does. Yuka becomes confused, feeling a deep connection to the character she voices. Sakata then agrees to show her his room. They make their way upstairs, and he swings open the door to his room. Upon entering, Yuka is taken aback. It's surprisingly neat and tidy, yet it resembles a merchandise shop with all the badges, figures, and keychains on display. To his delight, she playfully recites one of Yuna's lines. Sakata is taken aback to hear Yuna's voice and expresses his admiration, affirming that it's his favorite line as well. He thanks her for bringing Yishan to life, saying she has made his world brighter. He admits to sending an overwhelming number of fan letters up until now. Yuka responds by telling him that fan letters genuinely make her happy, especially one from a devoted admirer, which brings a big smile to her face. Curious, she asks for his pen name, mentioning that she tries to remember most of her fans' messages. When he reveals his name, Yuka is shocked to realize he's Death's love. Sakata then inquires if the letter she received was indeed from him, and as it falls to the ground, it confirms his identity. Yuka begins to grumble about something, and Sakata wonders what's troubling her. Suddenly, she bows and declares, while admitting her inexperience, that she will do her best to be his wife. This catches him completely off guard. Then she realizes something feels off and thinks that the honorifics make her sound overly formal, suggesting they use their nicknames. However, when she calls him Yukun, she blushes, prompting her to seek an alternative but is interrupted by Sakata, which makes her apologize. She explains that she tends to be clumsy in conversations and might have overdone it. Sakata then observes that she briefly resembled a unicorn in her expression. He's surprised to see her so talkative, especially since she usually keeps to herself at school, quietly engaged in her own activities. Suddenly, she grabs Sakata's hand and asks him to marry her, which leaves him stunned. She can't understand why he would reject her when his father arranged for him to marry his favorite voice actress. Conflicted, Sakata begins to explain that the person voicing Yuna is a real person, unlike the character, which is why he feels he must turn her down. Although he appreciates her feelings for him, he is wary of love, having been hurt before, and he doesn't want to go through that again. He reassures her that he doesn't harbor any negative feelings, just a sense of fear. In response, Yuka reveals that she initially intended to decline the marriage offer herself. Holding up a letter, she expresses her desire to give back the support he has shown her over the years. She shares that she struggled to find the right pitch for Yuna's voice, often having to redo just 2 lines multiple times. Whenever she felt down, she would revisit the letter from Death's love, finding strength and motivation to keep pushing forward. His kind words uplifted her during her toughest moments, making her cry tears of gratitude. Sakata thinks it must have been odd for her, but she insists it was not at all. When she heard about being assigned a marriage partner, she thought she wouldn't mind being forced to marry someone if it were Death's love. She never anticipated that the real person would turn out to be her classmate. Yuka considers him kind for helping her without ever having spoken before, perfectly matching the kind-hearted persona she imagined of Death's love. With a bright smile, she declares that their meeting must be destined, leaving Sakata utterly speechless, unable to respond, especially not from the waist down. Feeling as though she has a lot to share, Yuka asks Sakata to take care of her. Despite this, he's still mulling over his aversion to 3D girls. Yuka points out that she's a 2.5 version of Yuna, so it should be acceptable for him. She starts playfully encouraging him to seize this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Finally, Sakata tosses aside his doubts and agrees, causing Yuka's face to light up with joy. She promises to give her all as his wife. Curious, he asks if she can cook, to which she confidently replies, of course, and presents a beautifully prepared meal for dinner.